Imagine walking into an ice cream shop that has 37 flavors, each with names like Himalayan salted unicorn caramel swirl or ethically sourced avocado chai surprise. And after 5 minutes of sampling, you are somehow more depressed than when you walked in. That is the modern miracle of too many options. You went in to be happy, but you came out questioning the meaning of life and wondering if lactose intolerance is the answer to your existential crisis. And here is the kicker, Knight. The ancient philosophers would have laughed at you, not because they were cruel, but because they already figured out 2,000 years ago that the secret to a good life was not having more choices. It was having fewer. The paradox of choice is the idea that the more options you have, the more likely you are to feel stressed, indecisive, and weirdly unsatisfied with whatever you end up picking. And while modern psychology gave it that catchy name and a stack of research, ancient thinkers like the Stoics, Epicureans, and Aristotle were basically the original minimalist life coaches, minus the YouTube thumbnails of someone pointing at a closet. They understood that humans are not built to thrive in an endless buffet of possibilities because too much choice is like trying to drink from a fire hose. Technically water, but also a great way to drown. Let us start with why the paradox of choice even happens. Imagine your brain as an ancient donkey, not a sleek sports car, but a stubborn animal that evolved to make a few simple decisions a day. Hunt this, gather that, run away from the thing with sharp teeth. Then capitalism showed up and handed the donkey a smartphone, 47 cereal brands, 12 dating apps, and a constant stream of notifications. And now the donkey is lying on the floor, wondering why it even bothers to get up in the morning. This is what psychologists today call decision fatigue. Every time you choose something, you spend a little bit of mental energy. And because your brain is not a magical infinite battery, too many decisions wear it down, leaving you tired, impulsive, and about as sharp as a wet sponge. Barry Schwartz, the psychologist who popularized the paradox of choice, showed that too many options can actually make people less likely to choose at all. Give shoppers 24 types of jam, and they will stand there paralyzed, possibly reconsidering their entire relationship with toast. Give them 6 types, and suddenly they become jam-buying machines. And here is where the ancient philosophers step in like smug older siblings saying, "We told you so." The Stoics, for example, believe that a happy life comes from focusing on what is within your control and letting go of the rest. Epictetus would have looked at your 37-flavor ice cream menu and said, "Why not just eat what nourishes you and stop tormenting yourself with irrelevant options?" For him, the real freedom was not having every possibility available, but being free from the tyranny of needing them. Then there were the Epicureans, often misunderstood as party animals who believed in constant indulgence. In reality, Epicurus was basically the Marie Kondo of ancient Athens. His whole philosophy was about finding pleasure by simplifying desires. He ate bread, drank water, and occasionally treated himself to a small piece of cheese. If he saw modern people losing their minds over Netflix's 7,000 shows, he would say, "Friend, just pick one, watch it, and stop torturing your soul with the fear that you missed a slightly better one." Aristotle also weighed in on this in his own way, teaching that virtue is about hitting the golden mean, the sweet spot between excess and deficiency. Too few options might limit growth, but too many create chaos and indecision. The goal, according to Aristotle, is not maximum freedom, it is optimal boundaries. It is like playing football without sidelines. Sure, you have unlimited space, but the game becomes pointless because there is no frame for meaning. Modern life has broken that frame. We tell ourselves that unlimited options equal freedom. But in reality, freedom without boundaries is like an all-you-can-eat buffet where everything tastes slightly worse because you keep wondering if the next tray might be better. And this is not just about food or entertainment. It is about careers, relationships, and even identities. When you have 1,000 potential life paths, every choice you make feels like killing all the others, and that is a lot of funerals to attend in your head. The ancient philosophers avoided this problem by embracing self-imposed limits. The Stoics would mentally rehearse losing things, a practice called premeditatio malorum, so that they would value what they had and stop obsessing over what they did not. Epicurus encouraged people to test their desires by asking, "Will this actually make me happy? Or am I just chasing it because society says I should?" Aristotle would have you practice moderation, intentionally restricting yourself to avoid excess. And here is the wild part. Modern neuroscience backs them up. Studies show that reducing the number of choices you face can lower stress, improve satisfaction, and even make you more productive. It is like your brain actually breathes a sigh of relief when it is not drowning in possibilities. If you want proof, just think about Steve Jobs wearing the same black turtleneck every day. Was it a style choice? Maybe. Was it also a tactical decision to save mental energy for important things? Absolutely. Limiting small decisions frees up cognitive resources for the big ones, which is why ancient philosophers seem to have so much time to think deeply. They were not wasting hours deciding between oat milk and almond milk. So, how do you apply ancient wisdom to survive in our choice crazed world without moving into a cave or giving up Wi Fi? First, decide your values before you face choices. If you know what truly matters to you, options that do not align can be eliminated instantly. This is Epictetus level filtering, and it works like a spam blocker for your brain. Second, simplify recurring decisions. If there is something you do every day, reduce the choices you need to make about it. Eat the same breakfast, wear a small rotation of outfits, have a go-to lunch. It sounds boring, but boredom is just peace that has not been rebranded yet. Third, set boundaries on options before you start looking. Going to watch a movie? Pick from the top 5 recommendations instead of browsing every film ever made. Shopping online? Limit yourself to one store or one brand. This is Aristotle's golden mean in action. You get variety, but within a defined space that prevents overwhelm. Fourth, embrace gratitude for what you already have. Epicurus would tell you to take time each day to appreciate the options you have already chosen. This stops the mental habit of always scanning for something better, which is like trying to enjoy dinner while reading a restaurant menu for a different meal. Fifth, practice saying no. Every yes you give to one option is a no to another, so be intentional about it. The ancient philosophers were masters at no, not because they were antisocial, but because they knew that protecting their focus and peace was worth more than keeping every door open. And finally, accept that you will never find the mythical perfect choice. Even if you pick the best ice cream flavor, there will always be another that could have been slightly better. The Stoics would remind you that chasing perfection is a form of slavery to your own desires, and the Epicureans would add that you could have been just as happy with something simple if you had stopped overthinking. Here's the paradox. Less choice feels restrictive at first, but actually increases your sense of control and satisfaction. It is like pruning a tree. You cut back branches not to limit growth, but to make it healthier. When you give yourself fewer options, you are not giving up freedom. You are giving up the anxiety that comes from drowning in possibilities. The ancient philosophers knew this because they lived in a world with fewer distractions, but they also saw how, even in simpler times, people could ruin their peace by chasing every possible desire. Their advice still works because human brains have not evolved as fast as our supermarkets. So the next time you are overwhelmed by a menu, a dating app, or a career decision, remember that Epictetus would just pick something nourishing, Epicurus would pick something simple, and Aristotle would pick something balanced. You can do the same and walk away with your dignity, your mental energy, and maybe even your appetite intact. Life will always offer more choices than you can handle, but you can reclaim control by deciding which ones deserve your attention and which ones can be ignored. And if all else fails, just remember this one rule from the ancient playbook. It is better to make a good enough choice now than a perfect choice never. Otherwise, you will end up like the donkey in the old philosophical riddle, standing between two identical piles of hay, starving to death because you could not decide which one to eat. That is not a metaphor you want to live out. So, limit your options, protect your peace, and stop treating every decision like it is the final round of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. That is how you win the paradox of choice. And if you enjoyed this mental decluttering session, subscribe to XQ, Quick Funny Explanations, for more fast, funny, and genius-level content delivered at the speed of laughter. And drop your thoughts in the comments about the weirdest time too many options left you mentally fried. Now go forth and choose less, because your ancient ancestors and your modern brain will thank you.